Thank you so much for the introduction and for giving everybody the resource of how to get a hold of SCORE, because really, after we talk today, if you have any questions, get with your SCORE chapter and the mentors that are there, because they are so supportive, and also they have the experience to be able to help you and connect you with locally who could actually help you through there. So I'm glad to be back, everybody. I was for a minute thinking Zoom wasn't going to let me come back in. For some reason, it was not connecting, I guess, with an update that had happened to my website early this morning, or to my computer early this morning. So I'm glad to be here. I am recording as well, so we're both recording. We'll get a nice clean copy of this so you can follow along as well. If you would like to follow along too, the most important thing you need to do right now is find the chat box, because the chat box is where I can hear you. So I saw Kelly's comment. Everybody, if you could comment there so I know that you can find that. Your mic is not going to go on, so please keep it muted. It keeps a nice learning environment and a recording environment for everybody. Your video is not going to come on where you have to take the hot seat, but I am going to listen to you in what you say actually within the comment section or the chat box. So if you take a look at that, please find the chat box, because I do like to customize every session that I do. Today we're going to be talking about cybersecurity in your small business. This is really important, since our location these days is online. Our digital storefront, our online presence, all of that has everything to do with our reputation, either as a personal brand, a freelancer, a consultant, or even a company as a team member, a staff member. So all of this is important for us to understand how we can all impact the security of our business. And small businesses are impacted just like the large companies, and even more so, because sometimes we come across things that may not even enter just because of all that we're doing. And they may not enter the corporate world just because of all that we're doing in our own research. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about. But first, I want to make sure you have a copy of today's slides and the handout. So I'm going to drop those right here, in fact, in the chat box. So that's why it was so important for you to find that. So go ahead. Let me see. I'm going to put this right here. Actually, I'm going to bring it up too. Let me bring that up so you can have it in front of you in the screen. That's how you can get a copy of today's slides. You can use that QR code. You can use the link that you see in the bottom red, or you can use and click on the link that I actually have and I'm dropping right here into the chat box of the actual chat here within Zoom. All right. So everybody, if you could click on there, then you'll see the copy of the slides and the handout there. It'll be available while we're in session. The minute the top of the hour hits, it will not be available, but it will be emailed to you. So you'll have access to that there, as well as a nice crisp recording of it. Okay. So make sure you have that, because a lot of people like to go back and share this with their team, especially since we're talking about cybersecurity, and it's everybody in your team. Could be your spouse, could be your son, daughter, sister, aunt, whoever is working with you. It could be your company, but you need to be able to share this, because everybody, just like the saying goes, the weakest link is where we can see some of those breaches happen. So you can see that again in that chat box. Find that, because I do customize every session that I do. My name's Maria Elena Duran. I do have a digital marketing background. So I've been online since 2004, well before it was sexy and every one of us were getting onto Zoom, Join, Teams, Google Meet, whatever we utilize, FaceTime, to be able to make a visible and visual connection. So this is me with the Google team. I came to the Google team because I do have experience from grassroots building this up. I worked and actually started in a business incubator, so I didn't work there. I was a business incubator client, and I understand the value of other people's money and other people's experience. And I think other people's experience is more valuable, because it helps me circumvent that time and energy and that misdirection that can happen when you don't have that kind of experience. That's why I'm such a fan of SCORE. So I do come to you with that background. I've also earned the Texas Excellence in Small Business Award from the Texas Governor's Office. So I'm excited here to talk to you today about cybersecurity and your small business. If you see that blue link underneath, that's where you can get everything Google Small Business. And if you need anything, get with your SCORE chapter or mentor and let them know what it is that you need, because they are the ones who want to make sure that they outreach and bring in the valuable tools, resources, people that you need to be able to be successful. And what's cool handle is that's all 100% free. You'll see the first handle at the very bottom, the last line there at the left is me on X or Twitter. That's Maria Duron, Duron, or the next one to the right is at Marketing Coach Maria, which is me on Instagram. You can connect with me on any socials. I always like to hear how you applied what you learned, because knowledge is not powerful until it's applied. So we've all seen this. We've gotten an email, some of those random emails that come in, and a lot of times when we talk about cybersecurity, we think this is all there is to it. But there is so much more. This is barely the tip of the iceberg. So as we look at this, and we think a lot of times that we have all the antiviruses and the firewalls that protect us from anything like this. But we can be our own worst enemy as well as our own teams, because when we make things convenient for us, we also make it easy for people to be able to access and get things from us. And when we are not paying attention, we might click on something that we're not paying attention to because we don't fully read through and investigate and study if this is really who it's coming from, the true sender. So again, going back to this, it's not going to be as remarkable as this. It used to be at one time when everybody jumped onto the internet and 1996 and 2004, 2008, 2004 Google was born. People were just learning their way around. If you remember, there was Ask Jeeves, ICQ, all things were different back then. And now everybody has a mobile device, a powerful computer that they access 84% of the time more than anything else. So now you'll start seeing text messages like this. It's your Netflix subscription. So you think, I've got Netflix, I was all into it, but this isn't really from Netflix. So if you click on there, now you're divulging and not only letting the spammer or scammer know that this is a viable phone number and it's hot, especially even when you reply and say, don't send this anymore. It lets them know there's somebody actively reading this, and that's all we wanted to know, whether or not our list was active and good or were all these dead phone numbers. So understand each piece, each interaction that you do, you're giving a bit away of your identity and them knowing you, plus access to your mobile device or maybe your computer as you click on that. There's even been instances where businesses, and you've heard this, have had all their files and everything actually kept in hostage, and saying that you need to be able to transfer this money over or else you won't be able to access that. So it can completely shut you down. Imagine if your device, anything weren't available to you, or the ability to access anything online weren't available to you. How would you run your business today? How would you operate in all of your job duties? So even the scammers and spammers will tell you you should be careful. So they will want to earn your trust by giving you pieces of information to say, you know what, keep changing those passwords frequently. But it's important for us to be ever vigilant. That helps protect our own personal devices, our own identity and information, our reputation, and our business. So today we're going to be talking about why cybersecurity matters. A lot of people think, oh, that was back at the very beginning. No, they are creative as ever, and I wish everybody would use their creativity and their ingenuity for good, but sometimes people apply their superpowers to something else. So how do you protect your business online? What to do if you're attacked? And as always, I end every session with a free recap, recap of what you need to do, because I do believe that knowledge is not powerful until it's applied, and then also free resources on how you're able to apply that and really optimize your security and safety. So when we talk about cybersecurity, it's every business. No one is too small, home-based businesses. No one is too large. So when you think about that, 65% of small businesses, that's what SMB means. So you see that at the sentence underneath that big number there. SMB means small business leaders. That's what it means. Say that it's important. It's concerning to them because 85% now have a plan where before they didn't. And most people have a plan because they did it out of necessity, right? Out of necessity, they had to, because they lost the ability to connect somewhere, or they lost a piece of business, or even some important data that was critical to the growth of their business. So what are you going to do to protect yourself and your business online? Well, what's vulnerable to attacks? Out-of-date websites. Y'all, because I do deal in and work in marketing, I see so many people who have created websites from long ago. But in 2020, we saw a mass of them as we all shifted and everything changed in the world. everybody went online, but then they put it and they set it and forget it. And those out of date websites can be very vulnerable to attacks to yourself of the information that you have on that website because you haven't kept up with all the latest updates to protect that website. Or when people go to that website, if they leave any information, email addresses are valuable. People sell email addresses. And so when people have an email address that they know somebody's responding to because they say, take me off of this or unsubscribe, now they can continue to ping that and sell your personal information that they gather from that actual email address. Also, out-of-date software. Out-of-date software or software updates that can be very annoying. As I was telling you this morning, I had a software update and unfortunately it did not like to connect with Zoom, or Zoom didn't like it, one of the two. But without up-to-date software, then some of the new hacks and the new viruses that are out there, or the scams, I could make myself vulnerable to. And then of course, technical vulnerabilities, just because it may be that we don't know that could be a potential attack. So the first thing we need to do is protect our passwords and our identity. This is vital. And a lot of times we don't know where we're actually breaching that and allowing and giving that power away to people because we are doing that for convenience. We just want to get to the site fast enough. We just want to be able to send that off quick enough. So make your passwords difficult to guess. I was working with somebody who is with a financial institution, so a bank, and her password, she was the wife of a pastor. Her password and her hint was always, who's your best friend? Who is your first friend? She'd say Jesus. That was her password for everything in her own personal life and the financial institution. Once spammers figured that out, they were able to open everything associated with any email address that she had. So remember, make it difficult to guess. Keep up with it yourself, but make it difficult for somebody to guess. If you always put down, okay, this is the year I graduated and my daughter's first name, then know that if you do that on a routine basis, that consistency can actually hurt you because somebody can eventually figure that out. Keep those passwords private and do not share them. Oh, as somebody in the marketing field, this is the one that provides and actually is a lot of problems because people give their passwords all the time. I see people who are having people help them with Google Ads or Google, SEO, search engine optimization. They'll say, oh, you can access my Google account. Here's my password. Understand, when you give your password away to anything, you've given away the keys to the kingdom. And if your password is the same for everything, you've given a lot more than that. All right? Because people can figure that out. Finding your email address is not hard to do. But being able to, once they know what a password is or your password structure, now they can figure their way around into all the places that you access online. So when you think about that, do not share this. People don't understand when they give that away, then if somebody takes over, sometimes a company, even something as big as Google, can only tell them, you know what, there's nothing we can do because we see them equal to you and there is nothing we can do. So you relinquish and lose all of that, all those great reviews, all the great reputation you built online with that. You could actually go without it then because there's no way to differentiate you between the other person. And also use different passwords. This is really important. I know I've spent a couple of minutes just talking about this, but a lot of the problems that we see in cybersecurity are actually stemming from this right here, because people share out of convenience. Oh, you know what? I'm busy. I don't have time to change that. Just use this. I trust you. I hear that all the time. You talk to somebody for an hour and all of a sudden they say they trust you. Use a password manager. Your Google account, and this isn't the paid account, your Gmail account, so a free Gmail or a free personal Google account is free. You could use a piece of paper. You can use a booklet. My parents and myself, okay, we like to use this. We just use a little black book, and that's what we do. It's coded so that somebody can't just pick it up and figure out exactly what the password is to something else. Both my parents utilize that, and they're in their 80s. And what it does is it helps keep it organized and safe. Well, if you're more online and you would rather do that than have a physical copy, because you would, let's say you're traveling outside and you don't bring this booklet with you, but you do keep your password somewhere else. There's a free password manager there within Google, and you can see that link right there. Again, it's with your free personal Gmail or free Google account. You don't have to use that. There are other tools out there, but do keep your passwords safe so that you're not having them accessible everywhere or so easy to figure out. The second is to have two-step verification. We see this right all the time now. This is just happening everywhere. There's authenticators. There is where they text to authenticate or where they email you and send an authentication or verification code. The reason that this is being done is because we're seeing such a breach of people being able to access information without having that. And again, a lot of people will not turn on two-factor notification or verification. Why? Out of convenience. But understand what's convenient for you is also convenient for somebody who really is focused on nefariously getting every piece of information they can from you, and they want your identity. So when you see even working with the Google Workspace account, so that's the paid version of that, you can turn two-step verification on. So any of your team members have this layer of security already built in there with them. Just because you're secure doesn't mean everybody else who has access to the information that you're sharing or to business things that they need to help build and grow your business, that doesn't mean that they're being secure at all. So you have to think that a business is only as strong as its weakest link. So who could that be? You don't know, or they may not even be on your team yet, just up and coming, but you still need to protect yourself. So when you're looking at securing your workspace, which is your Google Drive, or even your own, if you're doing it without, let's say you're using another tool other than Google, make sure that you limit who can see your files. Keep that in mind. A lot of people will put anyone with a link or anyone who uses this link can access it. And why do we do that? Again, out of convenience. Yep. So I see here, Kelly has a spreadsheet and she uses all her passwords there. I have a paper backup as well. Absolutely. And as long as your spreadsheet lives somewhere safe, right? That's really what's important. But I love that you have a paper backup too, because that's a hard one to copy and go get. They really have to just break into your office or your house to be able to get that. Someone hacked my personal Facebook account. Absolutely. So I wanted to tell you really a quick story because I thought this was really enlightening, and it really, it actually it showcases how simple this is. So I got a email from Wells Fargo. It said at wellsfargo.com. It said that exactly. And it said, hey, we're just updating your personal information. We want to make sure we have your income and this, and we want to keep this, keep all of this safe. So just click here to go to your account and do this. Now, I already have gotten in the habit of, I never just click here to go to my account. I always go to my account directly on my app or on my desktop after I've already done and run a virus check before I even bring anything financial up. I always do that, but never click on what's coming into an email, because if it truly is your financial institution or the entity that said that you need to log in, you should be able to access that and log in on your own without having to use that link that they did. So I went in there and I saw notifications on my actual account because there's a little message icon up there. Nothing was there. Nothing mirrored this message. I didn't know what's going on. So I called them. I did the, old school method of calling them and finding out, okay, why'd you guys send this to me? Because I looked again at the email address and it was definitely their email address. So that was a scammer spoofing their email address. They were copying it. It was not coming from them at all. In fact, when I talked to them, they said, oh my gosh, no, there's been a rash of this going on. People think it's like the regular update, or they'll think it's okay, your credit card with the bank is about to, or your debit card is about to expire and we're going to send you a new one. Click here to verify. They are not paying attention. So right away, this is where people lose not only valuable money, but time, energy, and really a bunch of structure that they had in place because they weren't being diligent. So it's really important for you to be mindful of this and understand somebody being able to access and read your email and see those verification codes and circumvent what you're doing is also something to be wary of. So that's why I say here, look at that blue link underneath on the workspace security. Control who actually shares your files, okay? So when I gave you the link that I gave you to download the slides and to download the handout for today, I gave you a link to what is called a shared G drive. You can't get to the other parts of my Google Drive because this is a standalone drive that sits all by itself. And I was very, very strategic in that I provided it to you in PDF format. I didn't share with you a PowerPoint or Google Slides, which is something you can interact with and change. I didn't share with you a Word document because that gives you too much access into my tools that you can actually make changes to the settings and such. So you've got a PDF, which is a portable document format, and there are no changes that can be made there. A PDF is just that. It's a flattened document with no way to interact with it other than if you've got a PDF editor, you can change words and such, but it doesn't give you access to my tools. So you see within the Google workspace, if you're using Google, you also have the ability to choose roles, as you see in item 4, as somebody who's just viewing your document or viewing your paper. So you give them no ability to interact with it and to make any edits or changes, or commenter, which means they can put comments in the side and they can click on and make little comments about, change this, edit this, there's a typo here, but they can't edit it because an editor can now start making changes to the format and also connect with the settings. You can also add an expiration date. Let's say we're working on a project and it's going to be something that we're working on that's due at the end of the week, then I can make it accessible to the end of the week and then nobody can have access to it. That's why when I told you at the very beginning, I am going to have the slides and handout available to you till the top of the hour. When the session ends, that means that I have an expiration date and time of when you'll have access to that. That I will email the rest out. That's so you're not using the link later to come back and look at things because there's nothing going to see there. It's expired. It's this one-time deal for just today. And then you can notify people, send and share. So you can see more at that blue link of how sharing files can make and streamline your business, but also how you can be safe about it too. And couldn't scan the QR code. No, don't worries, Maria. Let me drop that here so you can get a copy of today's slides. I'm glad you asked and found the chat box. That's where I can hear you. Yep, I put that there just because Kelly, she may not have seen the statements beforehand. It depends on her settings of Zoom that she may have logged in and just been dropped right into a nice, clean, empty chat box. So there you go, Maria. You have that. Hope that helps. Hey, I wanted to take a moment to give a shout out to our sponsor, Shortform, which is a wonderful tool to help you be able to work smarter, not harder, by being able to take tremendous amount of information and get to the actual gist of it. Really, all of the key points from blog publications to articles to actual videos in YouTube to books. You have all of that available to you through Shortform, and I've got a free trial available for you utilizing this link. Every week I do the Google update, which every Wednesday the audio format comes out in our free community, and then on Thursdays you get it by email. How I'm able to do that because I look at 65 to 70 different sources, again from video to actual articles and publication, is I'm able to utilize Shortform to help summarize and look at exactly what is the key points that would be of most interest to me and whether or not I should delve in deeper so that I can apply how you can actually apply that as a small business and content creator, making the most use of an update for you. I utilize Shortform. Feel free to use this link for your free trial. If you decide to subscribe also using that link, you'll get 20% off, which is great because for the price of one book, you have access to all of this, and it truly is very focused and complete. It is the best tool that I get to use, and I wanted to share it with you. Thank you again to Shortform for sponsoring many of the audios in this video. So now we're going to talk about protecting your equipment and apps. A lot of people like to use the handout to follow along or even share with their team to be a good reminder, because a lot of people think that they've got security down until they're hacked. So when you keep your computer safe, do not leave your computer unattended. I can't tell you, we know this a lot of times when we talk to people about, personal safety when you're out. Don't ever leave a drink uncovered. People could put drugs or anything else, poison into your drink. You leave something uncovered, unbottled, unattended. But they don't think about their computer. They walk away to, I'm just going to go zap a copy of this, or I'm just going to go over here and grab this file. I'm just going to run to the bathroom. Oh my gosh, I'm parched. Yes, I do want to order, let me give you my order, or I want a drink. So they go and they leave their device unattended. I see this with phones all the time. So no longer is the lock screen on because you've left it live and unattended. And unless you've got the settings to be able to lock it after a certain period of time, you've given somebody free access to see everything from reading your email to seeing maybe even if you have notes on what your passwords are, or your children's personal name or ages or date of birth or anything like that. Your business EIN number, your social. I've seen a lot of people carry lots of different things on their phones. Heck, we even pay with our phones. So maybe they now have access to financial information. So use a lock screen. because you just never know when that opportunity or emergency is going to happen. You're going to jump up and you don't even think about the phone. You've forgotten about it being there. And we know it because how many of us have lost our phone or forgotten it somewhere, and we've turned all the way around in heavy traffic to just go get the phone because we can't live without it, but we've left it. So enable the services or apps that people need to do their jobs, especially within your structure of business, but don't give access to other people who don't need that. So really do vet people or limit the time frame or limit the access that they have. And the last one is don't trust unknown USBs. As somebody who's a professional speaker for Google, so I go to conferences all the time and everybody has their laptop up there, and there's nothing that makes me cringe more than hearing somebody say, oh yeah, oh, you know what, can we use your laptop for the next speaker? Or I brought my laptop because they don't have it, so we're using this for all the speakers, and everybody's plugging in different flash drives or USBs, right? So either or, thumb drives is what some people call it as well. I used to call it back in the day that, but don't trust it, because that can carry viruses, hacks, and it can even copy information from your actual device. So this is why it's really important, and that's why when I do presentations, I actually don't even travel with that unless I have to. I do have always a backup of my presentation there, but I actually go online utilizing a link to do that. Sometimes that doesn't always work because not everybody has internet access, but I don't want to introduce any foreign USB to somebody's machine and be responsible for that. So keep your mobile devices safe. Require that employees encrypt devices. So if you are employees, team members, family members are sharing some of your business information or have access to it, make sure that they have a lock screen, that they're encrypting things. I've seen people send over financial information and their bank account information, buy it via email. Email is not safe. It's unless you have an encrypted email, it is not safe. Anybody can get to email. And I see it all the time on an airplane, and people are accessing the airplane Wi-Fi and they're thinking that's safe. No, it's not safe. So require a PIN to unlock devices when you're working with team members also, and allow the ability to remote data wipe. So if somebody snatches up that device, they grab the laptop, steal it, they grab your phone, now you have the ability to lock it up and wipe the information from there so you do not personally jeopardize yourself, finances, or your identity. Keeping your software up to date is also important because those hackers, man, they're busy. They're very ingenious, and we never know when that attack's going to happen. And sometimes it's just because they really figured out an older version of software, so they are able to get and access anybody with that older version. Avoid software that doesn't have any security options. I avoid downloading anything that I don't know what it is. I'm amazed how many people are like, oh yeah, sure, I'll take your, you sent a document by email that's a Word doc or Microsoft doc, I'll take it. And embedded in there is a virus. They'll just take it because they're thinking that, oh, well, this is great, we can all edit it. So they'll take it and they open and expose themselves that way. Plus, establish policies, a third checkpoint, that limit data stored on company and personal devices. My children, the not vice principal, not vice president, but the vice principal of their school actually had all of the children's email and social security, those who had email, but also their social security and registration numbers for school, so their student ID number, on a laptop that she left in the back of her pickup overnight, and it was stolen with all of the children's information. So you see, it's not just people you work with, and it's not just you that has to be diligent. Everybody that may have access to this information. Could be a teacher. So Google Workspace is actually designed for this. You can see more about it because it can do that remote wiping. It can go ahead and secure devices, and it can shut somebody out if needed. Make sure whatever tool you're using, I'm not trying to sell you more Google here at all. Whatever tool you're using, ask that question. Be knowledgeable enough. You don't know how to have to do this yourself, but be knowledgeable to ask to make sure it has those features that'll keep you safe and secure. All right? Whoever is trying to hack in. Yes, absolutely. So how do you protect your customers? Well, one of the ways is right here. This is something that if you're a business and you're trying to show up high in Google search, you never will if you don't have that S. See that S at the very end there? When you see that first blue lettering, it says use HTTPS. It's the first capitalized lettering there. S means secure. There's a lot of people who have websites that may not have security behind it. So understand every interaction from your phone number to your email address to the question that you ask or type in there to how much time you're spending on watching a video to what your IP address is, which is where you're exactly entering the internet from, and where your location is all available if a website is not secure. So make sure you don't visit websites that aren't secure, should have an S or a little lock there, and make sure your own website, if you're a business and you have a website that's not secure, then you are not being diligent and responsible with your customers' information as well. Google has some free sites here. So these are free websites if you're just starting a business out. So you know this doesn't cost anything to get a Google site, and it gives you a chance to have a presence there, but it is already embedded. Some of the websites, web hosting, have that embedded as part of their service. Some sell it for extra. I know one of them sells it like for $99 a year. Really depends who you're using. You choose what works best for you. How you can support and protect your email is, of course, by making sure you have encryption, supports encryption. So there are several different things and tools that will actually encrypt and limit how much time somebody has access to an email. So again, like we have the expiration date of files, there's an expiration date and time of emails. Use that transport layer security. You'll see that TLS. That means when it's being transferred from one device to another. So while it's going along the superhighway of online or Wi-Fi, it is protected. And also two-step verification, because whoever is receiving it, then you know that person more than likely is the right person who's receiving it, because they have a way to verify and confirm that they are the person. When you have suspicious email, any attachment, anything to download files or click to a new website, be cautious. If you don't have a way to protect or your device that actually lets you know if there's any virus or malware, MALWARE, which bad, it's there meant to destroy or to put your device into hostage mode, then don't click on it. Do not click on it till you know. Any unsolicited emails, man, I delete those. I don't even go in to unsubscribe or interact with it, because I know that that is what they want, because it lets them know somebody's actually reading this email address, so that message is going to be read. This is a more valuable email that I can sell. And then look out for those suspicious email addresses, okay? Really look at them and understand that sometimes you just have to don't interact with it and go directly to the source. Just like I was telling you with the financial institution, when my bank was sending me an email, I thought, but it wasn't them. So beware of the scams though. All right, this is not a legitimate email. It may look like it, but it's not. So you may be getting conversation or communication like this because maybe you signed up for something or you bought something. So you think that you're getting it from that company, but it's not. So when you look at who actually sent it, look at what the email address is. Some of them do spoof it where they are copying exactly and acting like they are that brand, but some are not even that studious or they don't take that time to do that. They just send it and you see Ace and you think it's Ace, but it's not Ace. All right. So how can you spot spam or scam? It's an unknown sender, right? There's no profile photo, so you just get that icon silhouette. The copy just doesn't flow, doesn't sound like, written or spoken English. There's an attachment usually, and it's usually some sort of urgency. So they're really banking on the fact that you're so busy and you're going to lean into convenience and make this easy for them. Now, when we look at these two emails, I'm going to slow down here for a minute. Which one's the fake? Because one of them is fake. Do you know which one? Any guesses? Let me know in the chat box. No guesses? One on the right. Thank you, Kelly. Anybody else want to put their guess in before I answer the one on the right? Yeah, it's hard to rate. That's the only thing when you're trying to make something big enough. I understand that. Thank you, Melissa. All right, let's see. Unknown sender, no profile photo. So that was the one on the right. Hail to Kelly and to Marcia. All right, so when you look there, see how there's actual photo there. You may not be able to see all the details of the face, but there is a photo there. And look at the URL. The URL isn't right either where it came from. accounts.google.com.https, that's not it. When you look back at this other one, it is different, okay? But be ever vigilant in looking at this information, because one of those things, if not a combination of them, is going to give you the clue. So Gmail does block about 99.9% of spam, the phishing attempts, and malware. This is really important for you to know. Make sure whoever your email provider is does that as well, okay? Because you don't want to introduce a potential problem or security breach into your email. The big thing to remember is think before you click. This is critical. Even with SMS, so text marketing, text messages, think before you click. Oh my gosh, I get so many text messages out there from people that say it's Netflix, it's Hulu, it's Disney, maybe it's even, my dentist or my doctor, all right? So plan ahead too, and I apologize for anything that you hear in the background there. My neighbor's doing some remodeling and they decided to just start up, so you might hear a little bit of banging back there, but do plan ahead. So who's in charge? What happens? Let's say you're with a team. It could be a small team. It could just be 2 or 3 of you, but who's in charge and what needs to be done? And this could be for your business, maybe an organization that you're working with, even a nonprofit, a volunteer group. You all do need to still be diligent, because all of these devices, very rarely does somebody have a business phone and they have their own mobile phone. They don't have, the 2-phone system, which is actually what I do. So I do have 2 phones because there are apps that I use here that don't need to be on here, right? So that's why I keep them separate, and I don't bank on one phone at all. So when you think about that, what is your actual standard operating procedure, and who will be in charge of that? Who's going to make the decision of making sure that each area is secure and is able to take quick action? What platforms and tools are you using right now? Take that inventory now, because if you don't take that inventory now, it is very stressful, beyond stressful, to do it when you already are under an attack, which is why we do have crisis management plans, and we do it before we're in crisis. Are they up to date? What accounts do you have? Do you know all your accounts? So my poor assistant, she actually had her PayPal hacked, and they hacked a lot of things because she was using some of the same email. But what I had to do from the business side, because she's my assistant, now I had to go in and make sure all of our folders were secure. Everything was secure. If she was using that same password for everything, I had to go reset her email password. I had to make sure that there was the 2-step verification, so it was only her in her area that could access that through her phone. So it was really work on both sides, but we both knew exactly what to do once the attack happened, that we were able to limit that, and she was able to get all of her money back. We were able to react and do that within an hour and a half. How many of you are ready to do that though? How many of you already have that plan in place? So what accounts do you have, and what hardware do you use? Do you have a list of that? Because we were able to go right away to the different companies we had to notify and say, okay, this is all the hardware, everything that we're using. So they are able to help us right away and see where there could be other potential breaches, instead of us all thinking that we're just safe and secure, and then there's another tool out there that nobody accounted for or remembered that is still accessible to everyone. Have clear policies too. Really establish an internal training website, someplace where we even just use one of the free Google sites for this, where I put in everything as far as what the rules and regs are, follow these guidelines to stay secure, and click here if you become unsecure. So this is how you start the process of alerting everybody. Publish the contact details of a mailbox or security specialist so somebody knows where to reach out to. Now, it could be just you. If you're a solopreneur or a freelancer, a consultant, it may just be you. But know for sure that you have that information, and you can share it with anybody else who hops on that device. Be it that your child who hops on, they want to do some research, and they're in elementary school and you're thinking, what? It's okay. Or somebody who you've passed off your phone or your mobile or your iPad to. Okay, any of your devices, think about that. Who have you given access to what? Who may not be aware of that they're doing something or clicking on something, a little notification popped up while your child was watching a YouTube video or a Disney video, and they clicked on it and it gave access to somebody else. So talk with team members, employees, family members about your regular security. Really look and see that they're being diligent, because we have a tendency to, when we become familiar with something, we just become more okay with it. And because we become more okay with it, we become very vulnerable. Encourage them to share concerns, because you may not see something that they see and it could blindside you. So it's always good to have another set of eyes there. And then make sure that they're modeling good behavior, because we all know this. It's one thing to say things, but you want people to do as you say, not as you do, but it's the modeling that really resonates with us. So if you're showing people, you know what, I'm going to do it this one time, just go ahead and do this. This is the, this is the verification, or this is how I get around this to save time. You've taught them exactly how to do that themselves, and they'll do that continually until there's an actual breach. So if you are attacked, if something happens, then this is how you can protect. Let me see, Kelly. Yeah, if we have an IT employee, then it would be important to make sure they're experiencing this stuff. Absolutely. They need to be aware of this. Everybody, though. I'm not saying just IT. Everybody who has access to the system. Of course, the IT, because they have deeper access than maybe those of us who are general consumers at a business. But we still all have the ability to log in and get to through a certain layer that the general public can't. So it's important for us to have all of these plans in place, and who's responsible for these. Double checking and verifying that there have been no breaches or that we've kept everything up to date. So for your bank, remember to contact your bank's credit card companies and other financial institutions to protect yourself. Contact them right away. Had I not called my bank at that time, that could have been dangerous, because it was not just a message sent to me, but my kiddos and my husband. So we have our own personal account, our business account, and joint account too. So I had to notify all of them as well. But had I not done that, imagine if my kiddos, looking there going, oh, I don't want to look at my balance now, but clicks off on it and makes a mistake by actually clicking through that, going, I'll just bring it up in another screen, so I'll do it a little bit later. I was able to make sure that they were aware of it. So there was a process we already knew to notify each other. So check your credit report too, because you never know who's going to steal and have an interest in your identity. And people think that it's just themselves. I'm an adult and I do this. But no, children's identities are great to steal because they don't have credit history. And so you can get some medical history from them that can help you get medical services. So that's why a lot of people like to sell people's or children's social security number. And then if you sit on that security number long enough, because we don't change those, right? You can sit on it long enough, as soon as they become of age to get credit, now you've got free, clear credit that you can grab. So it's important for you to look at credit reports. Dispute any fraudulent charges. That's why when the whole thing that happened with my son's school, it's like, okay, well, I've got to have protection for him all the time, because as soon as he ages into 18, I know what they can do with this. And that is something that on the dark web that people are selling left and right. Dispute any fraudulent charges or accounts. Ask that question. Now, this is not always easy. All right. I have a PayPal account, and with that account, I saw one day I logged in because I look at it daily, and there were 9 charges for $12.50. 9 of them. And I was like, what is this? Because a lot of times people who are trying to access your information will send test amounts to just see how far they can go. So it's little amounts, but it's testing to see if anybody's going to notice. So I noticed the 9. And I called PayPal, and they said, the woman who was supposed to help me at PayPal said, you know what? I see that, but it's a subscription, so it's something that you subscribe to. I said, wait a minute. When did I subscribe to it? Let's look at that. So I said, look at the transaction history. And she said, oh, you subscribed to it today. I said, well, I'll tell you, I didn't forget that I subscribed to something today. And I didn't subscribe to it 9 times. That is not me doing that. So they were able to secure that and do that. But I had to really have that conversation with her, because sometimes they're going through their checklist or their script, but they're not really hearing, you know what, that wasn't me. So I could have easily been thwarted with her very confident, oh, it's a subscription. That's a charge you may not have remembered. But I knew that I didn't start a subscription today. So be vigilant in checking your accounts and flagging fraudulent charges. And again, I never click on a link or a text that somebody sends me. I go to the back of a card and there's a number there, and I actually call it. Consider placing a fraud alert too on the account and freezing your credit. That's what my assistant had to do to make sure that the rest of her monies were not accessed, and she did the same with a few other accounts that had that same password. Okay, so keep that in mind. Stay safe. Now, when you do see that this has happened, file a police report because this will help you with insurance wise. If something happens, if you've not documented, and more than just a document of you saying, okay, I'm going to put this in a Word doc that this happened on this day, but you actually filed a police report. Now there's an official report that something happened on this day. Next, you might want to file that report with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. So you will see that you have that URL at the very bottom left hand there. That www is how you can complain to them and let them know to prevent that from happening, not just to any of the other team members, but your friends and connections who may not be aware that this is going on, and even larger, the public in general, so that everybody's aware and protected. Contact the Federal Trade Commission too. That should be FTC. So when you see that first URL there under the first check mark, it should be .gov. That V just went there because of that graphic. So it should be .gov. But report fraud, scams, and bad business practices there to the FTC, and any identity theft, even if it's a young 2-year-old child, make sure that you report it here, because there are so many things, as I said, from medical to insurance to then when they age into credit age, that social security number could be super valuable to them. So your next steps are change your passwords. If you have passwords right now that are the same, really take a look at that. Record it for yourself, so don't lock yourself out, but do record it, as several people here, like Kelly and Maria, were even sharing how they secure and record their passwords. Just make sure that you're recording it somewhere secure. Then also, who's going to help you should this happen? Who on your team and who even external vendors, suppliers, or specialists can help you, because you don't want to be making those decisions when you are in that crisis mode, because now we can't think. We read things that we don't even read them completely, and we see something oftentimes that's not there. So keep that in mind and continue to monitor your credit and financial accounts. All right, so make sure you keep that in place. Now, as always, I said I'm going to recap and provide resources. So that's a lot that we've covered, and it's not rocket science, but it's the consistency that will make or break your security. So use strong passwords. Consider a password manager. Make it really difficult. Even my 80-year-old parents will say, and I didn't teach them this, this is from their own interaction that they do online, is they'll say, okay, we put 4 numbers, 2 capitals, then we pick 2 words, and then 2, like different grammatical things, exclamation or asterisk or something. And we do this on all of our passwords, need to be at least 8 letters long, for their always bumpered with these things. So they have a pattern to themselves, but that's how they make sure that everything's secure, and it's not just, okay, that's, my nickname, or that's my date of birth. Those are easy ones that people always guess. Date of birth, when you graduated from high school, college, birth of your first child, your mother's maiden name, all of those things. And by the way, all of those things that people like to play on Facebook, hey, fill out these 20 things of what have you done? What's yours? Also are ways that a lot of identity thieves find out specific information about you, because they'll know, okay, yeah, they've traveled everywhere, so they did say that this is one of the things that they've actually done. Or they'll fill in things like, oh yeah, I was born in, how many people were born in Chicago? Okay, I was born in Chicago. So you're giving away personal information on a very, very public forum, often to whoever's running that software. That's their purpose. They want to gather that information. So all those different lists and challenges and copy and paste this, a lot of those things are helping people see that. The same thing that I tell people with face recognition. We used to think face recognition was cool, but then they realized that, because we laugh about it, even saying, that's not my brother, that's my sister, because it would recognize your face and say, hey, is this so-and-so? Especially a lot of the socials like to do that. And I explain to people, actually, that's what marketers love, because not only is the camera picking up the face, it also sees the Coca-Cola bottle behind you and the car that you're in front of in the brand. So it's picking all that up and coming up with different lists to be able to create a nice marketing stream to you, because you specifically like this product. It's also picking up the house and the house numbers, and if the children are in the background. So keep yourself safe. 2-step verification whenever possible. Keep equipment safe, including your mobile devices, everybody. This is where we go here first. So mobile devices are definitely at the forefront of what people are wanting to build, attack, and steal. Secure your websites with HTTPS. Emails, make sure you're using a provider that uses at least one level of encryption. I even encourage higher levels of encryption because, hackers are pretty resilient or pretty studious and industrious to be able to come up with workarounds. Make a plan, do it now when you're not stressed, so that when you are stressed, you are ready, you're prepared, and you're not having to put additional layers of stress to you by trying to remember things. You're just doing, you're executing on this. And develop and nurture a security culture, just like I was sharing with you. Really be aware of that people want your information. It is so valuable to them. And because of that, you need to be ever vigilant of that, and for your family members and your team members. Now you can get more safety tips here at that URL or that link, safety.google at the very bottom, but it'll let you know, what are some of the tools that you need to, or what the updates you need to look at, and even some of the news and updates of what's happening, different security breaches that people are seeing, because of course, Google being the #1 search engine in the world is also attacked all the time. So very aware of what is out there and some of the attacks that are happening so it can alert us. But then also, just like you saw with the FBI site, you can also go there to see what the latest updates are. Yes. Thank you, Bill, for sharing that. Yes, you will get a copy of the recording and the presentation, but if you want it right now, right there is how you can get a copy of the slides and handout right now while we're still in session for the next 7 minutes, okay? If you want to connect with me, because I want to know that you applied what you learned. I love to do virtual gift dances and celebrations across the internet on socials to be able to celebrate that you applied it. It could just be, I put a crisis plan together. I made a list of everything that I have, all of my software, all of my tools, all of my accounts. You can connect with me at bit.ly/findmaria. That'll bring up all my socials. Connect in the social that you like best, that you're comfortable with and use on an everyday basis, and give me a shout out and let me know, because I'd love to celebrate you. Okay, so I'd love to connect with you. And I will model what I teach people whenever we're in our marketing sessions that I do, is that you do need to ask for a review when you've given good product, service, or information. Hopefully I've given that to you. If I have, I would be honored with a review. You do not have to, but I do know that people will give you a review or consider it if you at least ask. So I'm asking right now for that. I would be honored, but you do not have to. The big thing that I want you to do is to get with, oops, there we go. Push the wrong button there, but to get with the SCORE chapter and the SCORE mentors who can help you, and maybe even come up with an outline and maybe a document or even a file that you have to help you with crisis, to know what your hardware is and to know what your software is. So you will be prepared, and then you'll be able to recover like my assistant and I were able to do so quickly because we already had all of those in place. It was one of those things we would giggle about sometimes when we were doing it because we were all so very busy, but we'd say, oh my gosh, this is kind of insurance that it's not going to happen because we're doing it now, which a lot of people will say and do. But when you have it in place, oh, there is such peace of mind because boom, 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 this is what we're going to do, this is what we're shutting down, and we were able to keep everything secure. Of course, the attack came when I was traveling, so I was out speaking in Georgia to a group, so she's trying to handle this over here as well. But we were able to coordinate quickly and know exactly what we were doing because we already had that plan and we were aware of that plan and talked about it with each other. So we did it before we were in that mode. Okay. All right. So I see some comments here, and I'm going to go ahead and go out to the comments and to see if you have any questions. You are using a QR code. Can they be hacked? Yes. Your QR codes, anything digital can be hacked with a